Hi, I'm John Stevenson, and we're going to be looking at Psalm 47, Praise to God as the Great King. We begin with a very short superscription for the choir director, a psalm of the sons of Korah. This has been quite usual for this selection of the psalms, and now our psalm begins properly. Oh, clap your hands, all peoples. Shout to God with a voice of joy. For the Lord Most High, and I have to pause there because the term Most High, Elyon, we're used to seeing this as far back as Genesis, where God was called El Elyon, God Most High. Here it's not God Most High. Here it's Adonai Elyon, the Lord Most High. That term Most High, Elyon, from the word Allah, to ascend, and we're going to see that in the next verse. So I want to point it out here. Most High, I think that's a great translation. For the Lord Most High is to be feared, a great king, hence the title of our psalm, Glory to the Great King, over all the earth. And so what we have here in the first two verses are a call to worship the one who is the Most High, the one who is the great king. We go on to verse 3, he subdues peoples under us. Now the peoples there, you say, are those his people or are those all peoples? I think it's the latter, and the first line is going to be explained by the second line because this is synonymous parallelism. So he subdues peoples under us, and nations, you ask, who are the peoples? They are the nations. Who are the nations? They are the people. Notice under us and now under our feet. It's saying the same thing. Verse 4, he chooses our inheritance for us. And then you find out what that inheritance is. This is finishing the thought. The glory of Jacob, whom he loves. And then in Selah, that's a bit of a pause, maybe a short reflection, maybe a musical, not finale, because the psalm is going to continue on, but a musical indication. But notice he chooses our inheritance for us. What is our inheritance? The glory of Jacob. He subdues the folk out there, but he also gives to the folk in here the inheritance, the glory of Jacob. That is the inheritance, whom he loves. Verse 5, the Lord has, I'm not Lord, I'm sorry, God has ascended. And here's that Allah term, ascended. You know, remember he's God Most High. God ascended, and he has ascended with a shout. The Lord with the sound of a trumpet. And so we notice the parallelism continues. And this is showing God as victorious. He is over the folks out there. He's over his own. He has ascended. He's Lord in every way. And so these are the things that God does. And notice he accomplishes all of these. That's why we're praising him. Speaking of praise, now we have sing praises. Now in English, that's one word. I'm sorry, in English it's two words. In Hebrew, zamru is one word. And so if I was translating, I might just say sing, just to get it in one word. It's very brief. Sing to God, sing to our King, sing. And so notice each one of these is Zamru. For God is the King of all the earth. And then again, he says, sing. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times he says, sing. Zamru. With a skillful song. This time, notice that term skillful song. Again, that's one word in the Hebrew, and it is the word maskil. Now, we've already seen psalms that were described as a maskil. And so here, sing with a maskil. And we mentioned back then that this is the idea of a contemplation. That's the sort of idea that we hear. And now God reigns over the nations. Remember, we said he rules out there. That's the nations of the people. And he sits on his holy throne. So we've had an emphasis both on his people, but on the nations. And I mention that because of verse 9. It's going to be an interpretive issue. And I think the psalm up to this point has helped us to interpret it, what that's speaking. And so we turn now to verse 9. The princes of the people. And here's the question: who are the princes? But who are the people involved here? They have assembled themselves as the people of the God of Abraham. Now, one way we could take that, we could look at that, the princes of the people, and have that refer to Israel. If this is the only verse that we had to go in, if we hadn't looked at those verses leading up to this, I might think that that's the case. And now they have assembled to represent the people of the God of Abraham. And that would work if this was a standalone verse, but it's not. And so I don't think that's what's in view here. Instead, I would suggest the princes of the people. Remember, the people and the nations; those were used interchangeably early. This is the princes of the people of the world. Really? Yes, they have assembled themselves, but notice, as they assemble themselves, they are joining themselves. They're assembling themselves as the people of the God of Abraham. They're joining themselves to the people of the God of Abraham. And this is what had been promised to Abraham in the very first promise that was given to Abraham. Remember back in Genesis chapter 12 and verse 3, where God says to Abraham, and in you, all the families, not just of the people of Israel, there was no Israel yet, in you, all the families of the earth will be blessed. Where what God was going to do to Abraham would impact everyone else upon the world, all the families of the earth. In the New Testament, Paul speaks of the same idea. Romans chapter 4, beginning in verse 11, speaking of Abraham, and he, Abraham, received the sign of circumcision, a seal of the righteousness of the faith which he had while uncircumcised. You know, Abraham, he wasn't Jewish yet. He wasn't circumcised. He wasn't, God had appeared to him. And gave him that sign and gave him that promise, the faith, so that he might be the father of all who believe without being circumcised. It wasn't about being circumcised. It wasn't about becoming Jewish. He became the father, in a sense, of everyone who believes. Notice, without being circumcised, that righteousness might be credited to them, and the father of circumcision to those who not only are of the circumcision, but who also follow in the steps of the faith of our father Abraham. It doesn't matter if you're Jewish or Gentile, if you're following in the faith of Abraham, he has become, in a sense, your spiritual father. So as we look at this passage, notice the princes of the people have assembled themselves as the people of the God of Abraham. I think what we find here, for the shields of the earth belong to God. He is highly exalted. And I think what this is pointing out is that if you have come to Abraham, if you have come finding the same faith that Abraham found, believing in the one in whom Abraham believed, then you have entered the people of God, the God of Abraham. And we do that through the greater son of Abraham, the one that God sent, God's only begotten Son, Jesus Christ, who died upon the cross to obtain for us the adoption as sons.